Hi, everyone. I'm Shelley Palmer. Welcome to the 2022 Innovation Series Summit. I'm here in Vegas Plaza, which is located in a metaverse known as Decentraland. It's just one of a growing number of metaverses, so let's have a look around. And while we explore, let's put this metaverse in context. Unlike the very popular Fortnite Battle Royale, which has over 30 million daily active users, or Roblox, which has over 7 million daily active users, Decentraland has about 18,000. That said, Decentraland is not like Fortnite or Roblox, sometimes referred to as Web 2 metaverses. It's a Web 3-based DApp, or decentralized application, which includes a robust NFT marketplace. In the past week, over $12 million worth of NFTs were sold in Decentraland, representing virtual goods and services as well as virtual real estate. Now, if you're wondering why someone would spend millions to purchase a parcel of virtual real estate in Decentraland, it's really simple. The three basic rules of real estate: location, location, and location. Speaking of locations, welcome back to the real world. Here, IRL, COVID-19 seems to be transforming into an endemic disease. The Great Resignation and lying flat, the idea that you only need to work when you need the money to get by, are juxtaposed with highly attractive, purpose-driven corporations and extraordinary technology that's empowering ordinary people to create vast communities and build profitable side hustles. The three macro trends, AI, streaming, and blockchain, are still going strong, and the data elite continue to become more and more powerful. Weaponized information is as big a problem as it's ever been, and remarkably, back in the mid-1990s, Carl Sagan warned us about one of the most disturbing trends of the present day.
I have a foreboding of an America in my children's or grandchildren's time, when the United States is a service and information economy, when nearly all the manufacturing industries have slipped away to other countries, when awesome technological powers are in the hands of a very few, and no one representing the public interest can even grasp the issues, when the people have lost the ability to set their own agendas or knowledgeably question those in authority, when, clutching our crystals and nervously consulting our horoscopes, our critical faculties in decline, unable to distinguish between what feels good and what's true, we slide, almost without noticing, back into superstition and darkness.
The voice you just heard wasn't Carl Sagan. It was synthesized by a company called Speechmorphing. They trained their AI model with audio recordings of Carl Sagan's voice, and they used their text-to-speech tools to have synthetic Sagan read the same quote. This technology is similar to the tools commonly used to create deep fakes. It's getting better at an exponential pace. Now, while the voice was fake, Carl Sagan's words were a prescient warning. We owe it to our posterity to do what we can to fix these seemingly intractable problems, and we can start by doing our best to understand both the positive and the negative impacts of innovation. Autonomous tools powered by AI are becoming ubiquitous. The popular misconception that AI needs to think like a human to replace a human worker is slowly giving way to the realization that, when humans and AI partner, productivity can be dramatically increased. Look at how much faster you can write when you turn on assistive technology. These small, incremental gains ultimately add up to huge increases in productivity, and it's happening everywhere it can. This past year, we've seen significant changes in the media business, audio and video production, transportation, mobility, consumer technology, even the privatization of space. But to me, the most interesting technological trend is the emergence of Web3 and decentralized finance. Some call it DeFi, some call it crypto. A few non-technical types call it programmable money. Practically everyone I speak to is involved with some kind of NFT project. A new DAO, decentralized autonomous organization, pops up every few minutes, and there just seems to be one crazy get-rich-quick scheme after another. Forgetting all that, when you peel away the hype, when you cut through the noise, what's left is a clear path to a brave new world. The world of Web3. And it's what I'd like to speak to you about today. Today, I am thrilled to announce our new Web3 training facility at medacademy.xyz. It's a free resource we've built together with our partners, Blockchain Foundry and Motion Tonic, and with a little help from the soon-to-be-released Catbotica Metaverse, we've created a hands-on tutorial that'll teach you the correct way to set up a crypto wallet, mint your own NFTs, and learn how to buy and sell them. At medacademy.xyz, you'll learn the difference between Web 2 and Web 3 sites. You'll learn how to collect data using decentralized tools, and you'll get a solid handle on cryptocurrency and the emerging world of decentralized finance. We've tried to make this journey as simple, informative, and educational and fun as possible. So, as soon as you finish each chapter, you'll be rewarded with NFTs that can be redeemed in the real world for real-world value. This is the magic of Web3. It lets creators and users share in the value they create. As you complete your journey through medacademy.xyz, you will be creating value for yourself in the form of new knowledge that you can use to enhance your business or create new businesses. You'll also be creating value for the Palmer Group, Blockchain Foundry, and Motion Tonic because you'll credit us with helping you acquire this new knowledge. As you engage, we will reward you with authenticated validation of your newly acquired skills, along with opportunities to meet others who share your interest in new forms of value creation. In the end, you'll have access to new communities of interest, communities of practice, and communities of passion that will empower you to share in the value you create. You're probably wondering how this is different from your normal job. After all, you've been translating the value of your intellectual property into wealth through every job you've ever had. We all have. We're so used to renting our brains to our employers that it's hard to wrap those brains around new organizational principles. But this is the promise of Web3, and it's also what the metaverse might evolve into. I believe that Web3 and decentralized finance will democratize finance as profoundly as the personal computer democratized information. Looking back at the Apple II Plus or the first IBM PC, could any of us have imagined the impact this technology would have in just 40 years? Web3 won't evolve along a predictable path, but it's sure to change the way we think about data ownership, money, and the creation and transfer of value. Here's a short clip from the Today Show in 1994. It's going to make you laugh out loud. Now, replace the focus of their @ debate or the word internet with blockchain or smart contracts or Web3 or DeFi or any other decentralized technology jargon you're unfamiliar with.
Back now at 56 past, I wasn't prepared to translate that as I was doing that little tease.
Oh, that's
that little mark with the A and then the ring around it.
At.
See, that's what I said. Katie said she thought it was about.
Yeah. Oh.
But I'd never heard
Or
it.
around
I'd never
or
heard it
about.
said. I'd always
That's
seen the
right.
mark, but never heard
Yeah.
it said. And then it
Yeah.
sounded stupid when I said it. Violence at NBC.
Yeah, I heard be around
big
or
fight
about.
up in the lunchroom the other
See,
week.
there it is. Violence at NBC. GE.com. I mean,
Well, Allison should know.
what
do you
is
say to that,
internet
Allison?
anyway?
Internet is that
Massive computer
right,
network.
the one that's becoming really big now.
If you think the new technologies empowering decentralized finance don't apply to you or to your business, you are, metaphorically speaking, Bryant and Katie in 1994. The good news is that you don't have to be. Thanks so much for joining me today. Now, let's meet some key players with some key insights. Michelle Crossan, Chief Marketing Officer, Samsung Electronics America. So happy to have you with us today.
I'm so happy to be here, Shelley. What a pleasure, and it's so good to see you.
Look, I want to jump right in. I do. This is like Samsung. I'm so excited. Tech has played such an important role in the past couple of years. It's helped us with adapt to work from home, remote learning, telehealth. But you know what's really interesting to me, though? It's like how a company the size of Samsung was able not just to meet everybody's needs, but it seemed like you guys anticipated them. You want to tell me about that a little bit?
Yeah, that is true. It's funny, but 2 years ago when it all kicked off and we were looking at all the trends that were happening, I was in a very different role, Shelley. I used to run strategy and transformation. And so it was all about anticipating everything that was going to happen. We never anticipated a pandemic. Who anticipates a pandemic, right? Well, we did anticipate a lot of behavior changes in consumers. We did anticipate a recession. We did a couple of things, right? And so we were quite lucky in respect to a business format we were able to have playbooks ready to go in case certain scenarios happened. Now, of course, the pandemic happened. No playbook for a pandemic, right? But when the recession happened and the behaviors changed, we were able to go really quickly to the consumers and really understand what was going on there. And so it was very obvious, right? Things that we liked to do in the past became real essential needs. Like, of course, we all love to sit in front of the TV and enjoy a good TV show. Well, that became a mandatory because it was the only way to really escape because we couldn't get outside. You know, Chromebooks and laptops and all those good things became essential for our kids to learn. And so there was a lot of nice things that became must-haves. So this year, we've started to really double down, I would say, a little bit more on what we learned in the last couple of years, and that is connectivity between the products. But that's coming out of consumer research, Shelley. That's not because we're dreaming it up. Well, every time we are speaking to the consumers, when we do a lot of trends analysis, we're realizing people have pain points, true pain points in their life, that actually consumer tech is quite unique in that respect about solving those pain points. So think about this spring coming up and people are returning to the office. Hybrid living, hybrid working is going to require technology to work in a way it's not worked in the past. Connectivity is going to be probably the unlock for all of us. Being able to spend, if we're in the office, short time, but more effective. When you get home, again, you've got all this connectivity, you know what's happening in the office, in your house, and then you can enjoy your family time. So, yeah, we were able to anticipate a lot, but I think really that's because we do a lot of planning up front, but a lot of consumer listening as well.
So I want to follow that up for a second because, look, Samsung's product portfolio is vast, and I'm actually understating just how many products Samsung actually makes. It's insane. And I understand, you know, good, better, best. But Samsung's on a different level. Like, there's a zillion products. And I'm wondering, from a marketing perspective, is that consumer driven, or what's driving literally the zillions of different SKUs?
Exactly. It is consumer driven. We have consumers from all different parts of the social spectrum, people that love premium, people that want to access our brand, people that are much more budget conscious. And we need to be able to deliver products for different types of consumers and their needs. I'm really, really passionate about the digital divide. I think it's critical that every tech company, actually any company out there, is actually addressing this. Shelley, I feel very passionate. I see that when we were young, when we were learning and we could self-teach ourselves, we could go to a public library, right? We could do that. It was free. It was good access, right? But what happens now if your household can't afford 5G? If your household doesn't have all this premium tech? Samsung doesn't believe that that should be a barrier for anyone. So we invest a lot of research, a lot of time in bringing products that can be accessible for all consumers across all the places that we play in. And that's really important, not just in terms of, oh, you want the latest phone, but ensuring that the technology is also sustainable as well. And it's really important that this equity of sustainability is across the whole portfolio. I was saying this to someone today, Shelley. Remember the good old days when you were at college and maybe your refrigerator broke down and you go in and you buy the cheapest refrigerator, you just need something, and you wouldn't care about the energy consumption. Days have changed now. This is something that Samsung uniquely does. We're able to provide budget-conscious consumers with also sustainable products that they feel like they're protecting the environment too. Now, I know I covered a few things there, but it's really important that you don't just provide products, but you also provide products that are also sustainable for the environment too.
Look, everyone who knows me, Michelle, knows that I'm a giant fan of Samsung products. I don't even hide it because the tech is great, and you know that is important to me. But to your point, what's even more important to me and what makes me proud to use Samsung products is the company's mission around sustainability. And I don't know that everybody understands how committed to sustainability Samsung actually is. And I'd love you to just, take me through that a little bit.
Yeah, that's just a very good point. I don't think many people do. And I was in consumer research just maybe 3-4 weeks ago with a bunch of Gen Zers. And it was interesting in their understanding too. So for those who don't know, Samsung Electronics started out in 1969 selling black and white TVs. We had our first sustainable product in the 70s, and it was a TV that was saving 20% of energy consumption. It was during the oil crisis, Shelley, right? People don't know that. So we actually did our first, we were in sustainability in that space, right, at that point. Now, over the years, we need to look at operations, products, and communities when we think about sustainability. We've done a great job with products. I mean, I don't want to give it all away, but there's so much innovation coming next year. You've heard about it already now in our keynote, and you're going to hear much more in the next month as well. But we have an array of products that are genuinely making a difference every day. We also have our operations. Now, remember, we're a global company, and China, Europe, and the US are all using all of our operations, offices, factories, supply chain. It's all 100% renewable energy. People don't know that. That's what my job's about. So Shelley, I just created for the first time a sustainability marketing campaign that takes everything that's going on across the whole company and ladders it up into one big campaign. And it's called Everyday Changes, Meaningful Impact, because it's all these little things that actually add up and make a difference, not just to the consumer, but to the planet. Again, very passionate about this. The climate crisis, I know everyone thinks about it as a global problem, but it's really a local problem. We feel it locally. And for those who've lived through the storms, those who've lived through the fire, the devastation, we know that we've got to do something. And a company like Samsung that has the scale that we have, when we make small changes like this, it makes a huge impact.
Like I said before, I like my Samsung products, but I love what you guys are doing with sustainability, so thanks for that. I got one last question, kind of a broad one. How do you guys see the future?
How do we see the future? Oh, that's a great question, eh? Well, let me take you a little bit back. How we do it from a corporate strategy and then a marketing world. So I'd say I joined Samsung Electronics America maybe about 3-4 years ago. And the first thing you do is you step back and you try and predict the economy. What's the economy going to look like in the next 5 years? See, it's very big macro trends. And we take lots of sources. We will look at all the trends of the consumer, the pain point they have today, and then we try and understand what's the pain point of the future. All right, okay, good. Now, do you know how many trend reports are out there? So you aggregate them. You get the best of the best, and we figure out what's going on. We then take it to consumers. We then take it to trade experts. We take it to the PR experts. We go and we tap into our network and we say, this is what we're hearing. What do you think? So multiple sources of aggregation, and then we look at our own portfolio, what we have today and what will we have tomorrow, and possibly what could we build tomorrow if this were to be true. And with all of that, and in my head I have a little Venn diagram, Shelley. It's a little bit geeky. I've got a wee Venn diagram where everything comes together, and we really see the sweet spot where Samsung can uniquely try and solve the problems of the future for our consumers. Now, you got to remember, there's so many consumers out there. We're present in over 70% of the households in the US. So we need to think about the communities that need the most help. So there are a lot of communities out there. We've got underserved communities that are underinvested that really need help. So when I'm looking at these trends, then I'm asking, what do these communities also need on top of that? And that's when we start to look at the marketing world, and we look at the campaigns plus the tech, add it together, and then speak to the consumer. So you can see there's a lot of desk research, there's a lot of consumer research. There's in the stores when you can get into the stores, actually speaking to our salespeople, they're the best. They know everything. If you can go into Samsung 837 in the meatpacking district, it is a joy. They'll tell you everything you need to know about the pain points our consumers are facing and what they hope and dream for and what Samsung can help them. Oh, you need to stop, Michelle. I could go on and on about this topic.
I want to let you go on forever because it's really wonderful to see how excited you are about your job. I want to ask you one thing. Gen Zers have a completely different take on technology than any other generation because they were born into a different technological generation. What are you seeing with that group?
Well, one of the things that we're seeing, right? One of the things that we're seeing when we've done all this research, especially with these communities and the young Gen Z, is their desire for customization. The desire to be seen, to be considered unique, and to be heard. And that's why we're building all this customization into our products so that people can actually feel like this represents me and they have the confidence to live the life they want to live. Now, I know that sounds really hard to connect, the vision they have for their lives and products, but everything adds up to help people build confidence and to pursue their dreams. And when I think about, I'll just check over here, my latest new phone, our Z Flip 3, which, you know, you've got 49 combinations of colors, by the way. So my daughter's already picking the blue and the pink. She's getting really into it. That's because it represents her. And every time she uses it, she feels good about herself. So I'm excited about the customization that's coming in Samsung. There's a lot more this year in 2022. And there's a lot more that will keep coming. So look for that. You'll see it in our home appliances. You'll see it in our smartphone business. Yeah, you'll see it all over, in fact.
I'm so excited about what you guys are working on. Michelle, thank you so very, very much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Shelley, thank you so much for allowing me to talk to the CS audience. And big thanks to your team behind the scenes. They've been great. And I really enjoyed sharing our vision, our bold vision that Samsung has. So thank you so much.
Stephanie Latham, the head of entertainment, technology, mobile, and connectivity at Meta, formerly known as Facebook. Welcome. It's nice to have you.
Hi, Shelley. So great to be here. I wish we were in person, but I'm glad we're still together.
Yeah, you know, we could be in the metaverse, but we're not. We'll get to that in a minute. Before we start, I have no choice. I have to ask you the question that I think everybody really wants to know. You guys have been all over the news. A lot of people have raised a lot of concerns about, everything, specifically, though, around teens. Is Facebook, is Instagram, is WhatsApp, are any of the Meta properties causing harm to teens and causing harm to people?
Well, Shelley, you're certainly right. We have definitely had our fair share of headlines over the past year. And I think, you know, at the core of the ones that you're referencing, there's been a body of research that we did internally, that we regularly do research like this, always pushing ourselves, asking the hard questions. This research in particular, Shelley, has been repeatedly mischaracterized, I think, and taken out of context. But, you know, for everyone tuning in, we've published this on our website. We're really transparent. Many leaders at Meta have talked about this extensively. But what I can tell you is, as a parent, I'm really proud of the work that we're doing to both keep teens safe online, but also support them when they're struggling, and also the tools that we're working to provide parents so that we can help teens develop safe habits online from the beginning.
All that said, and I appreciate that, a lot of people think and a lot of people say that Meta, formerly Facebook, puts profits over safety. And what do you want to tell people who are saying you guys are putting profits over safety?
Well, I think, Shelley, you know, I've been a leader at this company for 10 years, and I have lived through so many examples where that has been the exact opposite of our decisions. And I think it's important that, you know, at the core of this concern, I think, is fundamental, misunderstanding of where our commercial interests lie, and also the mission of this company, right? People are at the core of that. Our community is the core of that, that every decision we need to make has to put our community first. Now, sometimes these decisions involve really complicated societal issues, but I think always you see us act with the community first and our business interests second.
Stephanie, I hear you, and I think everybody hears, but we hear it a lot. You're doing the best you can. Is it enough?
You know, Shelley, I think we will continue to lead the way here on so many of these things, but I think a lot of these issues are far greater than Meta. I think they're greater than the internet, and I think this is another place where this entire community and society needs to come together on, honestly, to fully be successful.
I can appreciate that. All right, I want to move on to something that's fun. The term metaverse has been around at least since Snow Crash. I think that's when it was coined. But I'm not sure everybody knows what a metaverse is. So right there, what's a metaverse?
Well, I mean, taking a small step back, and you've certainly talked extensively about this too, but we believe every 10 to 15 years, we see a fundamental shift in the dominant computing platform, right? And this is what we believe is going to be the next one, right? And I think where you believe that we're going to see this development of interconnected spaces and 2D and 3D worlds, and it's not going to replace our current experience, but it's going to amplify it. And this whole idea of presence is going to change and evolve, Shelley. So instead of talking to each other in this way, we're going to be able to experience things with each other without the current barriers that exist in the real world.
I love that. I think that's my definition too. I think I would argue that that's what I think a metaverse is. Again, with Meta in the middle of this, the company formerly known as Facebook, do I really want one company to own the metaverse? Do I need Mark Zuckerberg being the king of the metaverse? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, Shelley, that is in no way our vision for the metaverse at all. And in fact, Mark put out a really big vision on this at the end of last year for the exact opposite of this reason, right? We are just declaring this is where we see the world going, and our job or our hope is we can help jumpstart that ecosystem. But this is going to require the co-creation of so many. And I think it's an invitation for all to join together here so we can build this from the ground up. I think a lot about how Meta and many other platforms were built on top of the internet, right? And we have been constantly in this game of catch up here. And the opportunity ahead of us with the metaverse is to come together and do this the right way from the start.
So you see this as a collaborative process across a wide range of companies, not just a Meta-focused metaverse?
Absolutely. One of my favorite stats is I think in Q3 2019 earnings calls, there were maybe 3 or 4 mentions of the metaverse. And then this past Q3, I think there are over 350. So everyone's talking about it. I think the magic here comes from coming together on it so that consumers and people aren't stuck in individual metaverses, right? It's got to be one where we all come together.
In other words, not a multi-metaverse, an actual metaverse that is for everyone.
That's so meta, Shelley.
It is. Okay, so when is the metaverse, as opposed to the metaverses or metaversi, when do you think that's going to come together? When should normal people, expect to enter the metaverse, holistic metaverse, as opposed to going to Decentraland or going somewhere else?
I mean, realistically, we're 5 to 10, maybe in some cases 15 years off from like the full-fledged vision that you heard Mark Zuckerberg, our CEO, put out there. That said, I think there are a lot of 2D experiences now that give you a little bit of a taste of where we're going. And I think a lot of the things that you can experience in the behaviors in 2D will carry forward into 3D.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right about that. If you are a normal company, not you, but like normal companies, and you want to get ready for this or you want to prepare for that, what are the steps you think they ought to take?
I get asked this, as you, I'm sure, would imagine a lot, especially on the heels of our announcement. I think there's 2 places that I'm really encouraging partners to think about and spend their time and energy. The first is there are a lot of things available in 2D right now, and there's a lot from Spark AR and filters and different things that consumers are using and adopting pretty heavily. So I think we always know that business behavior will follow consumer behavior. So encouraging partners to lean in and innovate and learn with what's available now so they're ready for the future, and use those technologies now to continue to attract and retain customers. And then I think it's important to have an eye towards the future. This is coming. What it looks like is still a little ambiguous when it will get here. Like, there's a lot of unknowns, but the need to co-create and collaborate here is really important. So investing the time in the research and in some of the new skills we're going to need to be successful has to happen now so that we're not in this catch-up game again.
What are the brands? I mean, you're out there in the brand world every day. Are there brands innovating in an interesting way now that you could point to as examples?
So many, Shelley. I mean, I think we're seeing this in every industry, that brands are really starting to play and have fun with this idea, as consumers are having fun too. Some of my favorites, fashion and beauty, right? I no longer have to order 6 different colors of lipstick from Sephora, right? I can try them on with a filter and decide. That may not be your zone, but you could try sunglasses from Ray-Ban or Michael Kors and see what that looks like on your face before you make the purchase. In hospitality, we're seeing Hilton use our headsets, our Quest headsets, to help retrain their employees as they navigate the new normal post-pandemic. And that's, I think, been a really helpful tool. That also transcends into the education space, as you can imagine, right? There's so much to unlock here. You can appreciate this as a professor, right? That you can just take your students anywhere and you have access to everyone, and there are no longer these barriers that exist.
What's near term next for Facebook, for Instagram, for WhatsApp, for the Meta family of companies? What are you guys thinking about short term, and what should we be looking for from you?
Well, I think you're going to see us continue to invest in a lot of the infrastructure that needs to be in place as we continue to learn for the future and for the metaverse. You're going to see more from us on live shopping. You're going to see more from us in the messaging space. You're going to see more from us in commerce, and in many ways, how all of that comes together.
Fantastic. Stephanie Latham, who is, in case you're wondering, the head of entertainment, tech, mobile, and connectivity at Meta, as I say, the company formerly known as Facebook. Thanks so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Shelley. I hope to see you soon in the metaverse.
As many of you know, last year I was named the Professor of Advanced Media in Residence at the Newhouse School of Public Communications at Syracuse University. It's been awesome. I've taught amazing students in the new Media Management Master's program, met some brilliant faculty members, and had the opportunity to interact with extraordinary colleagues, which led to an idea. I'm happy to announce and to invite you to participate in the Newhouse Advanced Media Lab series. It's a series of events designed to bring experts from academia, corporate, and government together to focus on the future of technology, media, and entertainment. If you're interested in attending a Newhouse Advanced Media Lab event, use the QR code on the screen. I am so excited. I am here with Jacob Cantelli, who is the lead of operations at MetaMask. And as all of you know, I've had some issues with MetaMask. Jacob, I'm so happy to have you here because now you can help me with all my MetaMask issues.
Very, very happy to be here, Shelley, and thanks so much for having me.
So before we get into my tale of woe, and also get a little bit of advice as to how to set up a MetaMask, can you let's talk a little bit about what MetaMask is and how people use it and all that?
Yeah, MetaMask is the gateway for accessing the decentralized web. So everything to do with Web3, from NFT sites or decentralized finance to making payments, to logging in and using it as an authentication method.
So MetaMask comes in a bunch of flavors. There's a browser extensions as well as a freestanding app that'll go on your smartphone. Tell me a little bit about the different versions of MetaMask and how I might use them and best use cases.
So we have a browser extension, which is our original product. We also have a mobile app. The mobile app is available on both iOS and Android. You can share the same accounts between the two through your secret recovery phrase or also through a hardware wallet. The hardware wallets are currently supported on the browser extension. We're bringing that to the mobile app very shortly as well.
So let's talk about this. My issue is that I only had the browser extension set up and it was somehow compromised. We've gone over that so many times, and everyone who knows me knows I think it was me, but I'm not quite sure, still feel a little vulnerable. But what you told me when we had a chance to talk was that the best way to use MetaMask is to actually use it with a hardware wallet. Could you talk a little bit about what the best practices setup is and how people should be thinking about using MetaMask with a hardware wallet?
Ledger and Trezor are the most common hardware wallets. Those take the keys, the secret recovery phrase, they move it off of your device to a physical device that you approve your transactions on. So there's a number of newer generation hardware wallets as well that will also allow you to inspect the details of every transaction. So the Grid Plus Lattice is an example of that. The Keystone wallet is another one.
So if I was absolutely brand new to the world of Web3, decentralized finance, and crypto, you would recommend that I first get a MetaMask wallet, and then the next thing I do is pick up a hardware wallet and connect them.
For a lot of people who are just experimenting and maybe they don't have more than a few $100s and they're trying to understand something, I think just a local backup of a secret recovery phrase is fine. But especially for people who are managing larger amounts of funds in a wallet, I strongly recommend hardware wallets or using a multi-sig or our institutional product.
Fantastic. Jacob Cantelli, who is the lead of operations at MetaMask. I can't thank you enough for being here today. Such an important product and such an important time to learn about MetaMask. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ellie.
So I'm so happy to be here with Molly Spillman, who's the Chief Revenue Officer of Oracle Advertising and Marketing Cloud. Molly, welcome. Welcome to the Innovation Series Summit.
Thanks, Shelley. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for including me.
Oh, you're quite welcome. So look, this past year has been like the year of connected TV, and we have seen major shifts in viewing habits. Actually, the landscape is like literally changing underneath our feet. What are you hearing from your clients?
Our clients are really trying to get smarter about how to maximize the opportunity in this shift, with people spending so much time on streaming services, content everywhere to find. And how do you make sure that your advertising is in the right place and is relevant, and you're getting insights from the campaigns that you're running? And so people are trying to move as fast as consumers are changing where their eyeballs are. And so it's a little bit frenzied, but there's so much opportunity. And, we saw what happened with Nielsen and accreditation. And so folks are also saying, okay, I got to advertise and market where I can measure. And so what is that new measurement? You see companies like NBCU and others trying to figure out universal measurement. And it's so it's exciting time, but a lot of people are kind of on the edge of their seats.
So it is an exciting time. This is the year of connected television or CTV, as everybody now likes to shorthand it. Half the people still think that means cable TV, which is crazy. But because of that, fraud, bots, viewability, these are all things that are just like all of a sudden they're part of the TV business in a way they just haven't been before.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that companies, we have products that address that, others have products. And so people are just stepping on the gas on the innovation and on the technology to be able to create a great experience for consumers, but also protect brands from being in places where they're bad actors, and it can hurt your brand because you just don't get so many, bites at the apple these days with how consumers feel like they should be advertised and marketed to.
So not to shill for Oracle, because I don't want to shill for Oracle, but you guys have a really comprehensive suite of products around viewability, fraud, measurability, identity graph. Do you guys see this kind of cookieless world we're going into as an opportunity, a threat, or a challenge?
It's a challenge and an opportunity. If you can overcome the challenge, then such a cheesy answer, but it's true. If you can overcome the challenge, then it's an opportunity. And so there's so much testing being done because cookies were going away, then they push pause, but everybody's just giving people more runway to test. But what we have seen in our clients is really a lot of clients are really trying to embrace and understand the value of their first party data. So when you could rely on third-party cookies, it was kind of the easy button. You didn't need to focus so much on it. And now we're working with clients to gather up first-party data. What do you do with it? Where do you store it? Who's in charge of it? What are the privacy regulations? And then how do you actually use it? So there's a lot of people who are focusing on the storage and onboarding of data, but what do you actually do once you have it and you have it at scale?
So there's a data science problem. Then there's an engineering problem. How do you guys handle that?
Well, our data science team is part of our engineering team here at Oracle. So they work hand in hand because they really do need to. And I think that's the opportunity and a challenge of companies. If your organization is in silos and I'm in charge of the insights, I'm in charge of storing the data, I'm in charge of activating the data, you're not going to realize the full potential of all of these things put together. So we actually have them all in one organization and not siloed.
So I'm going to ask one last question. Just how do you guys see the future? Like from Oracle's perspective, what should we expect over the next 12, 18 months?
What we're really focused on is the customer experience. And that can be a consumer, consuming marketing, advertising. We kind of put them all together. But what are the standards? How do we raise the bar on that? And then in addition, if you're a customer, if you're a B2B company like Oracle, how do we make, the advertising and marketing worlds come together on the behalf of the sales team? So I run a sales team. How do I use technologies to better target and communicate with prospects and current customers? So really putting all of those things together and innovating on the technology side and how you can make all those experiences more powerful, more relevant, and more impactful.
Molly Spillman, Chief Revenue Officer of Oracle Advertising and Marketing Cloud. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Shelley.
So I'm so excited, Vlado, to be here. This is amazing. Here we are at the Innovation Series Summit, and we're talking about advanced human imaging. What does that mean?
Well, exactly that, Shelley. It's advanced human imaging. We utilize the capabilities of mobile phone, and these things are super enhanced these days with machine learning capabilities and all sorts of great camera capabilities. And what we've done is we've utilized that within a mobile phone to allow people to do things around their human form or their form, their health, their risk assessment, or just simply dimensional change by utilising the camera on the mobile phone and a very slick set of algorithms that my team have built that assess size, dimension, risk and change. So it's advanced human imaging, exactly as we call it.
All right, size, dimension, risk, and change. I get the cameras can tell how big you are because they have the ability to do that. When I take a picture of me, I'm sad to learn exactly how big I am. But tell me a little bit about what the algorithms do and how the camera plays a role and how the data plays a role.
Well, there's a number of things. So the camera obviously is a very important part of a mobile phone for anyone that buys a mobile phone these days. We live our lives through our mobile phones. We utilise them in our social media. I'm one of those crazy people that takes photos of their food because I want to share it with my friends and all the wonderful things I get to enjoy. But when you dig a little bit deeper than that and you look at the capabilities of these mobile phones and what we've done, we've created an ability to track change using the camera as the resource, if you like, to draw that data into the phone. But what we've really done is we've cast a 12,000 point data grid across that individual and we measure them from point to point, from axis to axis. And using this grid, we're able to use the deep machine learning models that we've created over the last 8 years to actually assess the risk associated with them and the medical models that we've built through DEXA scanning and use those to, if you like, call for their twin. So we recently mentioned something about the Meta twin because something that we're expanding into. Everyone's quite excited about Meta. The difference between advanced human imaging and Meta is we've been doing it for years, driving towards this ability to 3D interact on the screen of your phone because of that intense or enhanced capability that a mobile phone can deliver. And what we've done is we've super enhanced that capability with an algorithm that we've built out of medical grade data that we've collected worldwide to help people assess themselves as an individual. And using that technology in the way that we do, we're not trying to get people to buy something else, not trying to get them to have another wearable or go somewhere to do something or have some blood tests and then come back and enter lots and lots of data to do this. We simply use these methodologies that we've created within the phone, and we use the power of the mathematical capabilities, if you like, of the machine learning chips on the phone to run these equations over the individual and assess health risk.
Just to be clear, this isn't a consumer application. This is a business-to-business application that organizations who need to understand dimension and or assess risk can use as a service.
Absolutely. We're not a B2C. If you like, when I started the business many, many years ago, and it feels like a lifetime, but it was an overnight success. Basically, what I looked at is I thought, anyone would want to self-assess and for a buck. And that was sort of the view that I took. Let's give people an ability to self-appraise and self-assess for $1. And it was really going into the roots of my background as a competitive bodybuilder back in the day. If I had an ability to assess and track the changes I was experiencing so that I could actually pivot and change my training, that would have been a fantastic tool. But when I really dug down into it deeply and I looked at the many applications that have not just come to us, but have been requested of us by organisations, I realised, I shouldn't be trying to approach this on what I call the onesies model. When you go to an individual and try to capture someone on the App Store and convince them to try this amongst the hundreds of thousands of other health applications that all have a great story behind them. So I thought that the better way to do this and the better way to attract that larger consumer populations go into these big organisations that have already captured both the trust and the need with their consumers, with millions of their consumers, and become an additional, if you like, data point that they can utilise inside their world and offer it to the consumers. So you're right, that was a long story short into why we're a B2B operation, not a B2C operation.
How would I use this if I was a business? How would I access the data? How would I access the consumer's phone? Like how does this work?
It's very simple. Whether you're a Nike of the world or even a Facebook of the world, there are many things they're trying to do to help people enhance their health and understand their health and get them into better eating habits and so on. So what you're doing is you've already got somebody or you've already got a consumer sitting inside your world. You've already got them utilising a technology in their hand with their mobile phone in most cases. Now, whether that's a web app or a hybrid of some sort or a native app like we're an SDK. So we're actually a software development kit that plugs into a pre-existing application. So what we've done is we've created this capability for other people's applications that are already consuming their policyholders in insurance sector, a person acquiring online clothing, or somebody that's simply having a telehealth medicine appointment with their doctor over a Zoom call. We give them that ability to collect that data in a trusted environment with an organisation you already know and trust and you're sharing your data with. So from the company's perspective, we supply that into the mobile phone via the company's application. We don't see, touch or feel that data from that point on. We simply tokenise the allowance of the measurements capability into the partner and it lets us know an event has happened. We don't know, Shelley, that it was you. We don't know anything about you. We don't want to. We're not a data-rich company. We're not trying to be. What we're trying to be, people talk about SaaS. I talk about MAS. We're a measurements as a service company. So we provide these measurements capabilities to organisations that need them. And when you look at the world as it is today, there are so many ways people need this, whether you're buying clothing online or you're trying to get underwritten properly by your insurer so they understand your risk and they can give you the right policy to give you the right cover, but then also having that information assist them in taking better care of you. Or if it's your doctor simply doing a telehealth call or a telemedicine consult, he wants to know what are your vital signs, what are your dimensions, so that he can do the things that he would normally do when you walked into the doctor's surgery and he assessed you visually and then took your blood pressure, your heart rate, your respiratory rate, and he weighed you. So we give him this digitally, remotely in minutes.
What's so interesting about this, Vlado, is I've said many times that if everybody who wanted to become a doctor in the world became one, with 7 billion plus people on the planet, there can never be enough doctors. And so we're going to have to rely on a new way to do at least triage style assessment. You know, how are you? Are you in need of something? Are you at high risk for something? So one of the things you and I spoke about before this was the way that the medical industry could use this to assess risk in a kind of a triage way. Can you just go and explain that a little bit?
Yeah, and I think that's a fantastic point to come on to, because what's important for me as an organisation is I'm not trying to stop you seeing your doctor. I'm actually trying to back it up a little bit and say to you, check yourself more regularly. And instead of waiting for that event to happen and go and see your doctor because you're already ill, you've already got to that cutoff point where you need care, understand that you're escalating towards that. So this is truly a triaging tool. It is an early intervention, if you like, awareness tool. It assists people in understanding, you know, I'm not going to have a heart attack yet, but gee, these statistics are showing me that I'm on my way. Or type 2 diabetes, you know, it's a sleeping giant out there in the world of the number of people that are heading towards diabetic risk. So what I'm really looking at is exactly that. We've given people an assessment capability to, if you like, hand on to their doctor, their carer, their clinician, to be able to look after them in a way that they've never been able to be looked after before without going in and being assessed. And just as humans, it's a natural thing we do, right? We wait until we're sick. People say to you, "What, have you had a checkup lately?" No, I'm not sick. Why would I? Right? But the thing is, you don't know what's the underlying things that are happening in the background that say to you, maybe you should be checked because a little bit of weight coming off the waistline wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, well, certainly. A little bit of weight coming off of this waist would always help. You called the company Measurement as a Service, which I really like. What does it measure exactly?
Okay, so if you look at the body scan, for instance, we measure across 12,000 data points, but the primary things that we're doing with that is we're assessing, height to weight ratio, height to waist ratio, waist to hip ratio, your circumference of your waistline, and so on around. They're the global health markers that have not been, which this is an important point. We're not the scientists that created the science that determined certain waistlines were the risk factors in Caucasian versus Asians and so on and so on. That was done by the World Health Organization, the International Diabetes Federation, and so on. What we've done is we've created the tool that digitally captures those markers on an individualized basis, and we give that back. So that's what the body scan does. Then with the face scan, we do a transdermal imaging of the face, which is looking at the translucent side of the face and the blood flow through the face. And from that, we're able to get blood pressure, heart rate, respiratory rate, irregular heart rate, and there's about 20 others. But when you're looking at chronic disease and you can blend understanding somebody's, what everyone calls BMI, what we call it a total body fat measurement with a waistline, and then incorporate that with vital signs, you've got 3 of the 5 markers that you would look at as a doctor to actually assess that person for risk. That means you're beyond 50% of the knowledge you need to know if that person's of chronic disease risk. Then you would normally be sent out for blood tests. Now, I know the minute I walk into my doctor's surgery, he looks at my waistline, he goes, "Can I get you some blood tests? I want to see how you're going on your HbA1c for your type 2 diabetes." So we've done the same thing. We've created this tool that is, if you like, the digitized walk into the doctor's surgery and be assessed. From there, we've got our Hemoscan, which then sends out a little Bluetooth blood testing kit that Bluetooths to the phone, a little couple of blood strips with a micro device that you prick and put some blood on it. It assesses through the phone to the cloud and gives you back your HbA1c, for instance. So it diagnoses your risk for type 2 diabetes. So what we've done is exactly what you said earlier, Shelley. We've created this triaging capability remotely, but we've done that so you can hand that back to your health professional, hand that back to the clinician, hand that back to your doctor and say, "Here's my latest data. Is there something I should be doing to get in front of this early?"
The way I access measurement as a service is I'm going to get an SDK, and I'm going to build this measurement tool into my application or into my mobile web app or my app for a smartphone. It's going to utilize, is there a limit to the kind of camera? Does it need to be like a latest iPhone or latest Samsung Galaxy phone, or will almost any phone work? What's the limitation?
No, that's the beauty of that. The 5 megapixel phone goes back 5 or 6 years, if not more now. So we basically support everything that Apple does. So if Apple's still supporting a 7, we still support it with our technology, and we run the equivalent in Android as well. So somebody utilising the technology can utilise it across any of those platforms for us. Importantly is the speed of delivery of that capability comes down to the quality of the phone and the memory capacity and those sort of things. So what you will find is I've got the latest 13 and it happens in less than a blink of an eye. Whereas if I was on my old 11, it might take half a second. But generally within a second, by the time you've taken the assessment, you reach for the phone to look at the statistics, it pops, it's done, it's ready to go. And that's the beauty of why we can scale so exponentially with the company is we don't use the cloud. So we're not relying on the cloud to compute these measurements. We utilize the capabilities of the mobile phone on the device. So it's another layer of privacy for the consumer that's using it with the partner. But from a cost of delivery for that consumer, there's no cost. They basically run it on their phone for themselves. It's a fantastic way to do it.
The privacy thing is huge because PHI, private health information, is obviously very highly protected and also regulated differently in every single market, which makes it quite problematic when you're doing global health initiatives and when you're doing any kind of work. So the privacy is good. The fact that it can work on any phone makes some sense to me. Even the transdermal imaging, even the ability to see the translucency in the skin, you only need 5 megapixels?
Correct. Yes, and we do that with video. And very importantly is we are only capturing the blood flow. We don't video record the person's face. We're not actually taking images of their face. What we're actually doing is drawing from the blood flow, and we have a calculation that's run within the phone, and then in the phone it is turned into code and sent to the cloud and back. That happens in less than 30 seconds on the fly when that's happening, but nothing personally identifiable with any of our actual products leaves the phone. Super important part of what we do.
Tell me about your vision for the future real quick. I mean, it's a very exciting tool, and I can imagine an awful lot of different companies using it, but how do you see this in the future?
Listen, I really see it as the democratisation of healthcare. You know, we can put this into anybody's hands. And sadly, you can walk down the street in any major city and there are homeless people with mobile phones. So we're creating a care capability, if you like, that even they can check themselves to look after themselves as well. So really what I'm looking at with the company is a blanket coverage across the world of both governments and healthcare systems with the big consumer companies that want to look after both their employees and consumers with a product that is both cost effective, convenience and easy to use for people to be able to actually take care. And it's really that pivot in episodic care. I think we talked about this earlier, that I know I can't remove it, but if I can put a dent into people waiting until they're sick to get checked, and actually knowing that they're heading in the wrong direction, so they just mentally they want to pull up for their own good, I think that's a fantastic outcome. And the company's got those abilities.
Vlado, I can't think of a more optimistic and positive vision for a company, and Advanced Human Imaging seems to have an incredibly important purpose. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks, Shell. It was a pleasure as always.
I hope you've enjoyed the 2022 Shelley Palmer Innovation Series Summit as much as we've enjoyed producing it for you. I'd like to thank our featured partners, Samsung, Meta, and Advanced Human Imaging. We truly appreciate your support. Please remember to check out medacademy.xyz, our free Web3 educational quest. And of course, we hope you'll subscribe to our daily newsletter at shelleypalmer.com. For all of us at the Palmer Group, thanks again. We wish you a happy, healthy, and safe 2022.